Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 480. Sorry, 440, 430. Sorry about the background noises. I was like a really cooked up by this all those background noises. Like literally just like that. Na ki yesterday I didn't really record the artifact is because of these background noises. And like basically like I thought that ki morning would be kind of like a much more peaceful, that might not have these kind of like only background noises but still have it, and it just like really fuck dude. Yeah. Like basically this, my home is literally next to the kind of like the vihar, so they have activity all the time, like basically they have, I don't know what they have. Like they have a lot like activities like basically yesterday was a like a dance program. Day before that there is a singing program, and this actually happened in evening activity. Morning activity, this box is always just pom 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 pom. It just won't stop. I don't know why, what they are kind of like a try to prove and things and that. But I always kind of like a thinking that na ki, like basically I'm living in India by the way, and like if you want to add this kind of like a sound and kind of like a create this kind of like some sound, that massive DJ sound, it really required permission to do that. Okay, yeah. And there is some sort of regulation, like basically is this thing after 10 p.m. you cannot able to do this thing. Okay, yeah. In the morning you shouldn't supposed to do this thing. Okay, but for the religious activity that rule is completely broken, literally broken. Like they religious activity, they just turn their kind of like a things all the time. They just won't stop, no one actually stopping them, and there is no regulation for that. And other people are kind of like really get frustrated, like basically the people who are kind of like very close to that particular things, it just like a really fuck. But dude, now this is very much essential na, like this is kind of like somebody is this thing that he, those like these are religious activities are very much essential. What kind of like a point they are proving that, dude? Like I'm not really sure what exactly is this thing. Like basically is this thing promoting their religion? I don't know why is that promoting religions, what exactly it means. Like I don't know. I am kind of like a seeing that na very different thing. Okay, maybe I'm not really sure of what I'm saying. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but what I realized that na ki basically I'm living in local town by the way, and here are kind of like a very much different. Like basically in scheduled caste community, 14th of April is a kind of like a one of the really essential festival, kind of like a Diwali. Okay, yeah. Then there is a Ram Navami, then there is a Muslim community of festival and things and that. Okay, yeah. And basically my hometown is a local town. Okay, yeah. It's not really that big town, but the problem is that na ki because of this local town, the religious activities are actually happen so much, and every single time there is a religious activity happen, the entire kind of like a traffic got chock. Okay, they have kind of like a blasting DJs and things and whatnot they are like there is a like a Hindu festival, there is a kind of like a Muslim festival, there is a kind of like a something that scheduled caste festival, there is a Sikh class festival, there is so many kind of like a religious, they have kind of like a celebrate their own festival. Okay, yeah. And they don't really have any kind of like a restriction that the how they should supposed to be kind of like a celebrate their festival. Government not try to push them that ki kind of like a but had a, like a make sure that they had kind of like a some sort of regulation, because that na ki the stuff that they do under the kind of like a somebody under the religious activity, it's like really stupid. Like a blasting that much DJ all the time till kind of like a 1 a.m 12 a.m midnight, after the midnight. Okay, then kind of like a doing the rally and kind of like a choke all the kind of like a traffics and things and that for what? Like literally just like that na, ki I'm kind of like asking this question for what? Like literally these people who kind of like build that religious, they also don't want that ki kind of like a such thing, such kind of like this celebration things and that and that. But dude, yeah, you are living in India. Yeah, what should you supposed to be expect? Okay, yeah, like those are religious activities are like literally is the core of the India. Yeah, you can't do this thing. Like if you add any kind of like a regulation to counter kind of like how do you supposed to celebrate those festival? Boy oh boy, you might get kind of like somebody divide the country. Yeah, literally is this thing. Like people are kind of like a love more their religion than their country, and that is kind of like a things. Whatever, it's a kind of like a somebody everyday kind of like a hassle and things and that. We will not gonna talk about this particular shit. Okay, actually now like sorry, why I'm really frustrated is because of that. Key from last couple of days I was not actually recording my artifact because of this noise and things, and in the evening it is like a for sure they have kind of like a things, they have some sort of event over there, and probably because of this thing I cannot able to be like literally it just they have kind of like a blasting their DJ so rapidly so much that literally I cannot hear my own voice. It's just too much. And another thing is that if I'm recording artifact, I am not really sure that is my audio is kind of like a recording or not, because this background is kind of like a DJ is actually blasting and things and that. Problem number one. Problem number two is that like right now I think that okay, what exactly happened? Okay, so basically it's this thing from last 2 days I was not actually creating my content. Okay, the reason is not this, but the reason is kind of like the summer, the heat, the 43 degrees Celsius weather is, oh my god, literally just melting. Okay, another thing is that first of all so hot. Okay, another thing is that I cannot really focus on my work. Okay, yesterday I quite focused. Yesterday I kind of like things that I have to be kind of like publish my book, so I kind of like spend my entire time on that thing. And basically is this thing that I haven't really created any piece of content. In the evening things might kind of like a really like basically I didn't really get any kind of like a productivity after the 6 p.m. I don't know what exactly happened from last 2-3 days. After the 6 p.m. there is some sort of consequences happen, and I'm kind of like wasting so much amount of time. Literally, like there is no work at all from 6 p.m. to onward, nothing really at all. Like basically this thing, usually kind of like at 6:30 p.m. I usually went to workout. Okay, now I went to workout, I did my workout, and then kind of like somebody friends are coming and they are kind of like we are talking and things and that, and I came home from workout from at least like a 9 p.m. literally just like basically I came to kind of like a 8:30, and then I kind of like a shower and things, and it kind of like a take 9 p.m. yeah, literally 9 p.m. like basically it's this thing, my 3 hour is actually gone. Okay, yeah, actual workout is almost like a basically like a 1 hour actual workout. Okay, and then 1 hour is kind of like a meeting with your friends and things and that like why am I kind of like so frustrated is because of that I'm not kind of like utilizing my time very much properly, and that is kind of like a very much frustrated, and that's why I'm kind of like blaming other people to kind of like things and that's a kind of like a very fuck thing. Yeah. Okay, another thing is that during the morning, like basically like let me tell you my schedule. Okay, so I usually wake up at almost like a 6 a.m 6:30 a.m. Okay, yeah, and then I kind of like somebody do my breakfast and things, I record the artifact. Okay, yeah, half an hour I record the artifact, then I read this book. Okay, yeah, I read this book 20 minutes. Okay, and then after that 1 hour I read my another book. Okay, yeah, and then after that I play brain games like a Duolingo, Brilliant, Lumosity, and Elevate. These are kind of like a 4 application. I kind of like play those games to kind of like improve my kind of like everything and that. Okay, yeah, and this 3 activity took me almost like an entire morning, literally morning. Okay, yeah, like basically like a, yeah, literally morning, like basically just 12 p.m. Okay, and then after that I mop the floor, then I kind of like simply ate my lunch. Okay, and after they ate my lunch, my productive is kind of like basically I started doing my work after I ate my lunch, like basically from like a, let's just say kind of like a 1 p.m. or maybe, yeah, 1:30 p.m. Okay, and then after I started doing my work. Okay, so I kind of like continue doing my work till kind of like something 6 p.m. or maybe 6:30 p.m. So probably the actual amount of work that I'm doing is from kind of like a 1 p.m. to kind of like a 6 p.m. So that means almost like a 5 hour. Okay, yeah. And then after that 6:30 I went to workout. Okay, so 6:30, and usually is this thing, one of my friend is actually with me, so that's why because of this thing I'm kind of like a somebody that keep like wasting a lot of time. Probably I'm thinking, am I blaming that particular person? Maybe, yeah, because of that na ki when he was not there na, I was kind of like only one thing, that go do my workout and come home. So I usually kind of like do my workout within a kind of like an hour, literally just like that na. If I kind of like went at 6:30, I kind of like came back at almost like a 7:30 p.m. Like literally in 1 hour everything is actually done. Because of he is actually here, so that's why we just kind of like then we play badminton. Okay, yeah, and then after that we kind of like spend almost like a 10 minute for kind of like a tea break and things and that, and it takes like another hour. I don't know, it happened like basically I don't know, it's just like that no, friends are gather and kind of like somebody just 1 hour pass out and just I don't know where the time goes. Okay, yeah. So basically 1 hour is actually workout, 1 hour is kind of like spending time with your friend, and when I came home, okay, I kind of like a shower and things and had a dinner. It takes another hour, so basically 3 hours is actually gone, literally just gone, and I don't know where that 3 hour gone so rapidly in things and that. Now then after that I decided that let's record the artifact. Like after I ate my dinner I have to record artifact, but then there is this activity, this religious activity, and this is so much noise that I cannot able to record the artifact. Okay, like this is kind of like a frustration that I cannot record the artifact because of this fucked up process actually happening. Okay, yeah. And then IPL, like literally just like I don't know what exactly happened from last 2-3 days. I was watching IPL, like I was a kind of like a particular person that I did not watch that much cricket, and I was watching IPL. I don't know what the fuck is this thing, dude. Okay, and then after that, when I started watching IPL, I just can't move. Literally, just focus on television to kind of like watching IPL and things like that, and it takes entire night. So there is no night, and there is no time left to do work. Okay, yeah. Like basically when I was watching IPL, then just gone. Okay, yeah. And then after that, like literally just like 12 p.m. now, then I have to be sleep at almost like at the midnight. So I decided that let's shoot supposed to be sleep at midnight. So I slept, and then I kind of like wake up at 6:30 p.m. 6:30 a.m. So it's a it's a kind of like a thing that now this cycle is kind of like a repeating. I'm not kind of like a creating my content and things and that. There's a lot of frustration actually happening, and because of this frustration I'm kind of like somebody just, yeah. But the one thing that I'm trying to tell you is this thing na, the basically is this thing na ki, let me tell you one thing. If you think like I realize that ki if I get the every time according to myself, like according to myself means like that ki, like basically I have to do my work, I have to do my workout, I have to do my things, like if I plan everything according to my time and things and that and I try to execute that way, then what exactly happened now, then there is no surprise element, there is no kind of like a things that ki make sure consider as a life. Okay, let me tell you one thing. Okay, like throughout this recording artifact I realized the kind of like a life is means what. When your life became predictable means like that ki you plan everything regarding about where is your time spent and things and that. Okay, yeah. So when your life is predictable, it became boring, and when it became boring, there is no meaning for life. Even if you are like a big star, big person, or like a movie star or whatnot you are. Okay, yeah. Even if you are the president, or your work is kind of like you are loving your work and things and that. Okay, yeah. but that predictability is actually happened, then life became boring. Okay, yeah. That unpredictableness kind of like a makes the life interesting. Okay, yeah. And what is that unpredictableness? Like a stuff that you don't really predict, like that noise, that IPL, that heat, that kind of like a something. There are so many factors. Okay, yeah. And this is kind of like a things that when that unpredictable happen, life kind of like a feels like good, feels like that, feels like it not feel really good. It feels like frustration, but that frustration is kind of like also really good. It's a, I don't know how I'm supposed to explain this thing. Let's just say a kind of like a somebody is this thing that you are kind of like a doing working with predictable pattern and things and that it's a kind of like our body, our mind kind of like a somebody feels like that it's a boring task because we are kind of like constantly doing this thing. So that's why going to the office every single day kind of like feels like boring. Monday morning in the office feels like boring. Doing every single kind of like a work on the office kind of like feels like boring and things and that. But soon as you came home, that unpredictableness actually happened. And when that unpredictableness actually happened, your life is kind of like something very much interesting. So that's why you are very much interesting when you come home. Okay, because that unpredictableness actually happened. Sometimes kind of like a stupid, sometimes just nothing, sometimes just excited. This is what it is. This is what kind of like a thing is that life is meant to be. Yeah, I realize that. So basically don't worry about those all those kind of like some frustration and things, and like basically I wanted to utilize my time and things and that, but you can't able to utilize this time because the consequences is kind of like unpredictable, and that unpredictable consider as a kind of like a make sure life is much more better way. Okay, yeah. Like if there is nothing really happen in your life, what should you supposed to say that what would you do in today? Nothing. Okay, so that unpredictableness is very much essential, and that's keep the life is actually life. Okay, because sometimes it's not about the kind of like a somebody work, it sometimes is not about the kind of like a chase, sometimes it's not about the kind of like a somebody goal and things and that. Sometimes it's meant about the present moment, and sometimes present moment makes beautiful even if there is a chaos. So yeah, I don't know. I like basically is this thing. I'm kind of like experiencing the life regarding about whatever the life that there's something actually happened over here. So this is what kind of like a thing that unpredictableness is. Oh shit. Whatever. So should we jump into the question? Alright, what if AI failed to remove the name? That's a really good question. Okay, first of all, what exactly is this question and why am I asking this question to myself? I wanted to build an app called My Artifact. What exactly is this app? When you wrote the diary every single day, you can't write the diary the way that you wanted to. Reason is that the way that you think is much more faster than way that you write. Okay, and basically this is the constraint number one. Constraint number two is that when you write there is a lot of problem, spelling mistake, space, the handwriting and the pages and pen and lot of more things. Basically this thing if the journaling is a kind of like a self-reflection process to kind of like express yourself regarding about who you are, what you are, kind of things and that. Writing kind of like somebody is this thing add that constraint to not to do that stuff. Okay, yeah. But what if we could kind of like a change from writing your diary to record your diary, like a audio recording diary? Okay, yeah. I call them as an artifact. Okay, yeah. Like instead of writing a diary, record your diary, and that recording audio called artifact. The stuff that you are kind of like hearing me is My Artifact episode number 4030. 4030. I am doing this thing for almost like 11 years every single day, and because of this thing it add so much amount of value in myself, so much amount of value that I can't tell you how much it add value. The person that I am today and the person that I will become tomorrow is all because of the artifact, and it adds so much amount of value. I realize that the amount of value that I get from this technicality I have to be share this technicality to the people, to the world, and things and that and that. So that's why I'm actually creating this application called My Artifact. Okay, so that people could kind of like share their thoughts and things and that and that. Now, my application is a kind of like a somewhat something YouTube. In the YouTube platform, people are kind of like uploading video. Other people kind of like watch your video. It's kind of like the same. In my platform, people are kind of like record the artifact. Other people kind of like listen the artifact. By the way, my platform is an audio-based platform. Okay, there is no video-based art. Okay, but there is a one catch. Okay, I am kind of like adding the privacy to the people. Means like that user will not gonna know who is exactly user that they are kind of like listening. Like let's just say is this thing, my name is Saurabh Bauthare, so my artifact handle name would be a Jackson43 or Prozac 1943 or whatever it is, so that other people might not know who am I and things like that and that. Okay, now this is kind of like a things. The question is kind of like something very much interesting. Okay, so the question is kind of like says this thing. By the way, like basically, let me tell you one thing where his question actually came from. Okay, so this is my app. Okay, I already mentioned. Now I wanted to kind of like understand my application. I wanted to understand all the possible consequences will gonna happen when I build the app and everything. So I went to ChatGPT. I kind of like said this thing. This is my application. This is the feature. This is the things that I want. Okay, I wanted to kind of like verify, understand, and every possible consequences that what will gonna happen. So suggest me at least like 100 question. So ChatGPT kind of like suggest me 100 question. By the way, these are all question are actually in the mobile phone, but while recording I can't do these things. So that's why I wrote question in here. This is the question. By the way, this is a book that I'm reading right now. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Highly recommend to you to read this book. Okay, so basically it's this thing that what if the AI failed to remove the name? What exactly is this thing? Okay, so basically what is actually happen in my application that people will kind of like record their artifact like same. Okay, like basically right now there is a video artifact episode, but people will kind of like record audio artifact, not video artifact. Okay, first of all, why not video artifact? Why audio artifact? Okay, first of all is that privacy, because you in video artifact episode you could see me. Okay, you could see me how I look, you could see me my background, you could see everything. And what is actually happened now, I have to be prevent your identity. Okay, because why is that thing? Because the stuff that you mention in the artifact is very personal, very kind of like things. It's a kind of like things that now when you wrote the diary, do you have courage to share this diary to someone else? Do you have that courage? No, definitely not. No, it's not. You don't really have that courage. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you is this thing: when you try to attach your identity with your artifact, it's kind of like something is this thing. It add so many problems. It adds so many kind of like things that not right. Okay, it kind of like things that it just not feel really good. Okay, because of that you always attach your identity, and sometimes or maybe most of the time people will kind of like find out who you are, what you are, your thoughts and things and that, and people have started judging you regarding about that key. Yeah, like this is what it is, like we are living in internet area and things and that. Okay, so privacy is very much essential. So there is no video artifact, there is an audio artifact. So when there is an audio artifact, this visual element is actually cut out. Okay, so just your audio, just your thoughts. Okay, now but even if there is a video audio artifact, there is a kind of like a problem too. Like let's just say I like right now you are kind of like listening this artifact, and in this artifact I mention my name, I mention kind of like I didn't really mention other people's name, but I mention my name, I mention my location and things and that. So that is called privacy violation. Like let me tell you one thing, if I'm kind of like giving the privacy to the user, it kind of like really essential that their information shouldn't supposed to be leak out. Okay, so what will gonna happen, how it's kind of like supposed to be happen. Okay, so basically is this thing when you record the artifact, at the spur of the moment you mention might be your name, your location, your people around you name and things and that, and this happen. We are human and we happen. Okay, so for that particular process, if your artifact, audio artifact, kind of like a print out your name, your location, or maybe your friend's name or things and that, it still violate the privacy violation, and people still might gonna find you regarding about who you are, what you are, and things and that. So in that particular process, how do I supposed to kind of like give you the privacy, give the user to the privacy, and their important information shouldn't supposed to be kind of like a went on to public. So how do I supposed to do that? Okay, so first of all is that when the people will start recording artifact, there is a kind of like a caution screen will actually happen, like basically when you hit the record, there is a kind of like a timer started 3 2 1. Okay, like a 5, sorry, not 3 2 1, like a 5 4 3 2 1. This kind of like a only 5 second of screen, that red screen, like a red screen actually pop up, and in that red screen you kind of like a somebody, there is a caution that protect your privacy, do not mention your name and things and that. Okay, and user does not skip that thing. If that user wanted to record artifact, that 5 second of that screen should supposed to be steered, that he would understand that key basically is this thing, when I wanted to record the artifact, I shouldn't supposed to mention my name and things and that is a kind of like a reminder that key do not use your name. Okay, do not use your name, like basically making sure that key privacy should supposed to be happen at early stage. Okay, let the user know that protect your privacy first, do not mention your name and things and that if I'm kind of like giving this kind of like a screen, this information just before recording artifact, people might not gonna use their name, probably almost like a 70 to 80%, but still people still gonna mention their name and things and that. So what will gonna happen? How do I supposed to kind of like making sure give them privacy much more better? Okay, so basically is this thing, before they went to public, before they went their artifact to the public, what exactly happened is this thing, they will kind of like record the artifact, they will talk about things. Okay, now artifact will not gonna went public, no, artifact will kind of like somebody is this thing that key basically it will process the first, it will converted whatever the stuff that you say like a audio into the text. Okay, and that text kind of like the algorithm, like not algorithm but kind of like a AI algorithm, kind of like determine what is exactly the noun. Noun means what? My name is Saurabh Bauthare, so my name Saurabh Bauthare is a name, is a noun. Okay, so detect the noun. Okay, like if you mention your location, if you mention your friend's name, you mention your name, if you mention someone name, so that is called noun. So it detect that noun. Okay, and in that detect noun, it kind of like a bleep out that audio segment. How that bleep out? By kind of like somebody, like every transcription attached with the timestamp. Okay, so if I know that 2 minutes 33 seconds there is a kind of like a particular mention this name, so if I have a time, add that kind of like a beep sound or kind of like a mute sound. Like basically is this thing now in the YouTube platform, even if you say fuck, the kind of like a YouTube kind of like a beep out that segment, probably, I think. Okay, sometime YouTube kind of like algorithm might work, sometime it does not, but if I'm gonna say fuck, you might still hearing on the YouTube platform probably, but in the subtitle there is a kind of like somebody is saying that key the blank text is actually happened. Okay, so basically is this thing now, what I do is that key whatever the kind of like only people mention their name and things and that it kind of like add that timestamp, from that timestamp bleep out that segment, trimmed out that particular audio segment, so that audio shouldn't supposed to be kind of like execute further. Okay, this is actually happened from algorithm point of perspective, and after the algorithm did this thing, it kind of like a mention that I check your artifact and there is no noun, but still you have to re-verify. So the user will kind of like read the entire subtitle regarding about that did he mention here things and that. Okay, if the user kind of like found that there is no name, even if they found that there is a kind of like a name, then there is an option that you could kind of like click that particular segment, beep out that particular segment. Okay, things and that user will have kind of like authority to kind of like protect their privacy, that what kind of like information that they are kind of like wanting. Even if the user wanted that this particular section is not supposed to be kind of like a proceed to the public, they will have do that thing, they will have that authority that they will trim out that segment. Okay, this actually happened in app level. Okay, now this actually happened, then user kind of like feel like that okay, confirm that identity kind of like feel that this artifact is kind of like really good. So then they hit the public. Okay, so this is what actually happened, that key the kind of like assembly, every user will kind of like if they wanted to upload their artifact on the artifact platform, they have to kind of like assembly confirm twice. First kind of like a confirmation when they record the artifact, and then there is a confirm, and then background process actually happened, and then after that they kind of like give this instruction to verify things, and then after verify they will confirm and they will kind of like publish to the internet. So this is how kind of like a thing is that even if the AI fail, user will kind of like assembly try to figure it out and things and that. But what if like a basically is this thing that user will kind of like a very lazy, like a like they kind of like record the artifact and they don't want to check and things and that. They kind of like believe that key like a basically algorithm did kind of like their work and that's it. So just hit the publish. So if such thing will gonna happen, so in that process, how is supposed to be kind of like a things that control the things? Well, basically artifact will not gonna publish when the user will verify. Okay, yeah, user have to be read, users have to be kind of like a verify that particular things. And let me tell you one thing, I'm recording artifact for almost like a decade. Okay, and what I realized that now key, if I'm kind of like a getting like a basically this thing now, I ask the question regarding about things and that and that and that. Like let me tell you one thing, instead of asking such a question about their life, kind of like a give them ask such a question about their kind of like a how they're supposed to be self-improve and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. Like basically this thing, if I ask the question, how is your friend, then more chances that key that particular person talk about their friends and things and that, and there is a lot of privacy violation will gonna happen. But what if you could kind of like simply ask such a question according to it, that key what kind of like a something that key quality that you wanted to absorb from your friend surrounding. So if I ask this question, then probably is this thing that key you will kind of like a try to less kind of like a mention other people name and things and that. So basically ask such a question that might not be evoke a kind of like other people name and things and that, or even user name or things and that. Okay, so this is what actually happened now. If I kind of like change the question in much more better way, then probably this privacy violation will not gonna happen, or maybe it happened very less. Okay, yeah. So this is how I kind of like a prevent. Also another thing, there is a kind of like a thing is that na ki voice modulation. But I'm not really sure about the voice modulation because there is a lot of heavy processing actually happened. Like basically the trimming, voice modulation, then after that the noise filtration, like every people will kind of like record the artifact, and obviously they will kind of like get this surrounding and background and things and that. So obviously they have to remove that clutteredness and things and that too. So there is a lot of processing will gonna happen. Voice modulation, I'm actually thinking that changing the volume, changing the voice would be kind of like a much more better, but like a app will kind of like crash probably. I don't know, I will add this thing, but this is kind of like a feature that I'm providing to kind of like making sure that I will kind of like provide the safest privacy as much as possible. Okay, yeah. I was actually thinking that na ki instead of kind of like giving the protection to the user, giving the protection to the artifact, this might be kind of like a much more better. So basically is this thing that na ki if the user wanted to kind of like use their real identity, they can do this thing, and if the user wanted to be anonymous, they can do this thing. I don't know at the moment. Okay, regarding about the privacy issues now, I was kind of like thinking about that so many kind of like so many kind of like things. How do I supposed to do this thing? But yeah, because let me tell you one thing now, like basically I'm kind of like telling from my point of experience, because some people will kind of like record the artifact and they will kind of like record really good artifact, and they wanted to attach their identity with their artifact because they talk really good. Okay, yeah. So in that moment, yeah, not everyone will talk shit, right? So this is what it is. This is what kind of like a thing. Sometimes I have to allow user to kind of like a username and things and that because they talk really good. So that's kind of like a things. Okay, yeah. So maybe like probably is this thing that it's a kind of like a user will kind of like a define that key. Is this artifact is kind of like a public, or is this artifact is going to be anonymous or what? This would be kind of like a much more better. Alright, this is it. I should supposed to be end here.